you have to not only work hard on what you make, but you also have to be very aware of what's already out there, what others are doing. What can you do that will fill an empty niche? And what can you also do to help people sort the noise? Because the internet is like a grocery store, but there are no aisles. Everything's just piled in a big pile. And wading through that pile, finding the nuggets, and then celebrating the people who made them by promoting their videos, by collaborating with them. Just make things that you love.
Firm positions on controversial issues.
Michael Stevens?
That's me.
Thank you so much for calling.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
What advice do you have for people who want to follow in your footsteps?
I would say two things. One is learn every aspect of your craft. If it's making videos, learn how to do every part of it. Learn how to operate your camera. Learn how to make the audio good on your own. Learn how to do all the editing yourself. Just because the more aspects of the industry you know yourself, the more self-sufficient you'll be, the more quickly you can work. You don't have to rely on, oh man, I need to borrow this thing from someone else, and I need someone else to, make me my graphic or make me my music, and it just slows everything down. And that leads into the second piece of advice, which is just to make things as often as you can, because everything you make is a new lesson. If you hem and haw over making something precisely perfect until you think it's ready, you're going to learn one lesson. But if you just crank out a video every other day, they can be short. You'll learn a lot more about what that process is like and about what your audience is like and what you like doing. I did videos much more frequently in the beginning, and that's how I learned a lot about myself and about what I wanted to do.
What do you consider your big break?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, in the internet, sometimes there aren't big breaks. They're just very slow breaks, and you sit there working, watching that subscriber number go from 0 and up. There isn't some big record label that comes in and says you're going to be a star, and you're like, oh my gosh, thank you. You really have to earn it. And sometimes you're lucky. Sometimes, for whatever weird reason, you'll get featured by an editor on a website, or some current version of YouTube's algorithm gives you a nice little placement, and new people are coming in, and you just got to always hope that your titles and thumbnails are authentic enough that people come in and like what they see. It meets their expectations. I'd say that when I made an episode about why hot peppers are hot, and another one I think around the same time about the deepest holes ever dug on Earth, those two got a lot of attention from different across social media and on different websites, and that made it clear to me that people loved educational content. I could say the same thing for What Color is a Mirror. That episode was one that I think was all over websites like 9gag. All of a sudden, these huge audiences were coming in that you wouldn't have thought were like academic college, people who were looking for educational videos, but they loved it.
What was your first viral video?
I'd probably say that my first viral video was a remix of Ferris Bueller's Day Off and the Friday the 13th trailer. So I took the voiceover from Friday the 13th.
Mindlessly, mercilessly, chills. It will scare you.
There's an intruder?
No.
And this was all based on a trailer parody that I saw where The Shining was made to look like a family feel-good movie.
Yep, I saw
and
that.
And I felt like millions of people watched that, right?
Yep.
Like, wow.
I'd do anything.
millions of people watched that, right? I was
Yep.
like, wow, what kind of power is that? You've just subverted a piece of culture that normally would be off limits, or at least maybe you could make fun of it and your friends would find out. But to be able to distribute that joke internationally to millions, it was a whole new world. And so I learned how to edit by making that video. I called it Ferris the 13th. And as I kept making more and more little found footage parody remixed stuff, I learned more techniques. I learned how to chroma key. I learned how to, deal with files on computers and all these things that I needed to know to become self-sufficient as a video maker.
Well, video is my first passion. That's where I started. So I'm right there with you. It's definitely addictive once you start getting into it. But to get back to that first video, how was it promoted? I mean, was it a happy accident that it got so popular, or were you out there pushing it on the various social media?
Social media wasn't even that big at the time. I mean, I guess it was technically. This was 2009, but there wasn't like a Facebook video kind of thing. YouTube was, I don't even know if Google owned them yet at that point. I mean, we're talking, it may have even been before 2009, but back then I would upload the video all over the internet. So I would put it on, I'd put it on College Humor. Like, users could just upload stuff there. Funny or Die, YouTube, of course, iFilm, a whole bunch of other sites, Break.com, right? Just sites that hosted funny videos. And I would just put them everywhere and hope that someone would see it. And in the case of Ferris the 13th, I think it was College Humor that, I don't know, some editor saw it and featured it, and all of a sudden I was super encouraged to keep working.
That's awesome. This is probably very similar in that same vein. You make funny, informative videos, and I suspect that's the key to your success. But given that your videos are science and educational, how do you think you attracted such a massive audience?
I think that people love learning, and learning doesn't just mean school learning like homework. It means information that is new to you that you now know. If you want to learn about how to grow tomatoes or put on makeup, or you want to learn about your favorite sports team, that's all learning. You learn information to become who you want to be and express who you are. And that's what I'm giving people a chance to do. I often cover topics that are very academic, cosmology and chemistry and math, but it's always in service of just the joy of finding things out, rather than you're going to be tested on this later. So in that way, my job is way easier than the job that a teacher has. That's why I really look up to teachers so much. But I think that also Vsauce videos are a conversation between friends. When you watch an episode, you really are just hanging out with me as I tell you everything I've been obsessed with for the last few weeks. And hopefully a lot of that passion is contagious when you watch the episode.
It's absolutely contagious. What were the biggest hurdles along the way to building such a large audience? How did you break through the noise?
I think that it's just an enormous amount of work. You have to not only work hard on what you make, but you also have to be very aware of what's already out there, what others are doing. What can you do that will fill an empty niche? What can you do that goes beyond or is at the vanguard of something new so that you aren't part of the noise? And what can you also do to help people sort the noise? Because the internet is like a grocery store, but there are no aisles. Everything's just piled in a big pile. And wading through that pile, finding the nuggets, and then celebrating the people who made them by promoting their videos, by collaborating with them, and letting people know what cool is out there, and being kind of known as a source for cool things to watch and cool new creators to watch, I think was all part of growing as a community.
What do you wish you knew before you started?
Oh, man. I don't know, because there was so little to know back then. And even today, the field is so new and it's so different than entertainment before completely democratic distribution that, like, we were all figuring it out as we went along. I think, I wish I'd maybe been less worried about oh no, is the audience going to think this next video is too long or too dense, or am I making them wait too long? And I think I'll eat myself up about that, even though I'm working so hard on a thing. And it's better to just make things that you love, and not worry about people wanting more and more, because at the end of the day, that's a compliment. It'd be much worse if people just wanted you to stop.
What inspired you to start making videos?
I mean, what inspired me was the reach the internet had. All of a sudden, because of the internet and because of online video, you could make a thing and millions of people could see it right away. You didn't have to be David Letterman or work for SNL or work in Hollywood. You could just be a kid in an editing room in Chicago and make a thing, and it just felt so much more democratic. If you made good work, it would surface. And I taught myself how to edit. I taught myself how to, market my own videos, who to email them to, what audiences liked, and, slowly kind of built up a sensibility for what performing on the internet was like.
At the time that you started, did you have other jobs?
I was working in a research lab at the University of Chicago, and I was doing like real science. But I quickly learned that I was better at celebrating the work of scientists and communicating what they were doing. Wasn't quite organized or rigorous enough to be as good of a scientist as I wanted. So I kind of was able to combine two big passions I had, science and performance, because I was really into theater. I did a lot of acting and directing for the stage in Chicago. And I think in a lot of ways, teaching is performing. It's about creativity. And Vsauce has allowed me to combine both of those and sort of communicate, articulate, and share what I'm in love with and what kind of knowledge I've been seeking.
I read a long time ago that the most powerful way to make money is to combine your passions. So, and you're a perfect example of that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm incredibly lucky. I mean, look how many people watch episodes about infinity and fixed point mathematics. It's also just makes me so proud for humanity that this many people want to learn, and they want to learn recreationally. They're not learning and watching things in Vsauce videos in order to get a raise at work. They're doing it because we are curious people. We are a curious species, and we love learning and the benefits that it gives us that extend way beyond just knowing a few new facts.
Well, I just wanted to say keep up the great work. I love your content.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. That's why I make it. I'm traveling around right now with the Brain Candy tour with Adam Savage, and it's fantastic to meet the viewers in real life. Even talking to you on the phone is so much better than just seeing the view counter go up by one. What is this? Is this a real person? Is it a digital person? But to see that they're real people is just it's the whole reason I do it.